Now I'm comparing this to an eggplant. So
Well, that's what I object to. I object to your like, I'm gonna sub in okra for eggplant. Like, stop it.
why?
Like, they're nothing alike. They're just both summer and heat loving crops.
Again,
There's
remember that
texture wise. Is the question of the day gonna link all of this together?
all
Like,
of this is coming to a head. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I really want you to remember this
okay.
conversation. Yeah. So
Well, there's also I no.
no.
No for it being fast and no for okra being an alternative and very it doesn't happen often, but I don't even have anything to counter with. There is no alternative to eggplant.
Squash,
Sorry.
zucchini,
Yeah.
all your
Okay, yeah.
squashes, all that stuff,
Yeah.
absolutely much faster. So all right, the final one, spinach.
I've been waiting on this one.
There's
Well,
a lot of contention with
unfortunately,
this one for
spinach,
me.
yes, for fast growing,
Absolutely.
but in May, no.
Yeah. I mean, you plant it and watch it bolt,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's now there are heat resistant varieties, but in my experience, I've not found a heat resistant variety that's truly summer heat resistant. It may be spring heat resistant, but as you ramp up quickly, you got to think again, we got germination time. So you plant it uh, April 25th. Then by May 15th, you've got a plant coming and it's growing. By June 15th, you're harvesting. I have seen spinach time and time again grow into bolt, like
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
immediately bolt, no harvesting time or anything.
We like to use the word stunted a lot. I've seen online, and it's basically, especially when it comes to the people planting things out, what's perceived as too early. Like spinach will stall on you for
Yeah.
sure. I had that experience last what would have been my fall spinach, but I planted it and we were still really warm, and it was like, this is all I got. I don't even know if it would. No one would accept it as baby leaves, even.
Well, I mean, well, first of all, before I get into the next thought, do you have an alternative for spinach?
Yeah, and I've been really so I was gonna give this for beets because they're exactly in the same family, but we basically, I said yay for beets. Chard, and I wanna love chard more than I really do. I'm falling into because it's fast, because it's easy, because you can basically grow it at any season. Like I want it in your gardens, and it's a pretty cool looking crop. Now, it's not one of my favorites. It's not on a top anything list when it comes to like enjoying the taste of it, but I'm working on that.
That's a
Uh,
personal preference, though.
what's that?
That's a personal preference,
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure, for sure. But I think I mean, it's a great alternative to something that it's not as, let's say, it's a little bit more tender, closer to spinach than, let's say, a hearty leafy green like a collard or something. So yeah, I've had experience and really good experiences growing chard all throughout summer. I feel good about you even direct sowing it as you're listening to this episode and it producing. You may find that you want to harvest it when it's younger,
yeah.
not maybe not quite baby leaves, but not letting it get huge because some of those leaves can get really big.
I've grown
Um,
chard in the summertime here. I had a plant one year by accident, just kind of make it, and it did pretty good. I mean, it grew in the shadiest part of my garden, so that's important first of all. And it did pretty good. It was a little bit tough, like texture wise. It grew a little bit harsh, but other than that, it did pretty good, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I agree with chard. I don't think spinach is. I think it's just a recipe for sadness. We won't use the F word. We'll just say sadness. Um, I will say this. Um, Overall, if you look at the way the article was written and you wanted to cover your bases, like what I would have said is like in my area in northern, which clearly this is a northern gardener for the most part, I would plant these fast growing vegetables, and kind of put that preface out there so that people would understand, because there's in the gardening world, there's a gross generalization about planting times that's just wholly inaccurate, and it's kind of disheartening to see because it is very confusing. So just doing something like that can separate it and eliminate a lot of confusion. And look, it's okay if you want to do something like this and you only have experience with one area. It's okay to give the experience for that area. You
Mhm.
don't have to have mass appeal for everybody. You can really focus on a certain region or something like that. I mean, I'm sure there's people, for instance, on YouTube. I know there's people that you watch, Batavia, that like don't do me any good to watch unless I
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
want to watch them. And there's people that I would watch that you have no business really, doing what they do in your garden. It's just, it's okay. It's okay for everybody to be different. If everything was the same, the world would be a very boring place.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about so I used to watch a lot of people in kind of the West Coast and in the States, and their growing conditions are almost always different than mine. Different enough where it's relevant when it comes to gardening. And I always believe that there's something to steal, this opportunity to gain something if they are walking through how to grow peppers. If you remove any comments around like, trying to manage through extreme heat, most everything else they talk about when it comes to growing peppers should be able to be applied to me in my garden,
Yeah.
right? So, obviously the time frame they're growing would be different, but I'm going to copy and paste it and shift it by 4 months or something. And so that's a part of like the lens I want people to look at articles like this in. Now,
Right.
this in particular is unique because they're plainly saying fast. And I was going through it like this could have been like the top 4 fast-ish things
Yeah.
to grow,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like maybe, but yeah, I mean, I also find it interesting that 2 different articles, 2 different publications, but again, information on the internet, the only connection between this week and last week was carrots on both lists, cucumbers, and beets of all things.
Yeah, beets keep
So
showing up, don't they?
yeah, yeah.
Interesting,
Maybe
right?
somebody on a crusade to get beets in people's diets.
Yeah, the beet industry is coming at you,
Mhm,
boy.
mhm.
They're gonna
Better watch
force
out
it
for
down
'em.
your throat. Good night. Got to get them oxygen in your blood. Yeah, so it's just it's interesting to see how all of this unfolds as you go through and you read these, and
Mhm.
just understand that like everything's different. I've done a lot of seed starting charts on the West Coast, and there are some places that are very similar to mine, but there's also
Mhm.
some places, more places than not, that are